Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be taking another look at the Electoral College map. Hit the like button and subscribe for more content just like this, and make sure to go ahead to the description down below and help us fund for the national and state polls that we want to conduct for 2024. SoCal Research is going through a methodology change which will basically upgrade the quality of the polling, and we are trying our best on that. So if you guys could pitch in, any support would be appreciated. And so at this point in time, the former president is still leading by 0.3% in the RCP aggregate. We have been, a few days without some new national polls. However, what we do notice is that the economic jobs report, for July was not great for the incumbent President Joe Biden, which is going to fall on Kamala Harris. And there's been news about debating and about how Trump accepted a debate with Fox News, but Harris did not. But Trump doesn't want to do the ABC one, even though theoretically he agreed to the debate with Biden and not with Harris. And Harris is kind of using that crutch of Biden agreeing to debate, or Trump agreeing to debate Biden on September 10th to basically say that he's quote unquote pulling out of the debate, even though it's factual that he never agreed to do a debate with Harris. On that day, he agreed to do it with Biden, and now they want to act like, you can't back out of the debate even though you said you were, even though he's doing it, he would have done it with a different person than you. That kind of invalidates the whole negotiation anyways, if you're going to swap out the entire candidate. And so now that he actually wants to debate her on Fox before the date that she even proposed for September 10th, or which was the scheduled one, she doesn't want to do it. So, is that going to really shake up the race? We'll have to wait for some national polls. I really doubt that that's going to shake up the race right now. I feel like that would affect the race sort of later on. And what we see here is Donald Trump right now is in a strong position to win the Electoral College. I really wouldn't necessarily be too worried about it because he does win fairly easily according to the election model that I have constructed based on the RCP aggregate, the approval rating differences. So I don't use any state polls, the demographic pool, and then we also look at the difference in their approval ratings, and that gets calculated down here. That model gets transferred over to this side, and then that's basically what we end up getting in terms of the Electoral College map. And so as we fill this out, you're going to see these states kind of fill themselves in. You'll see that all these states right now are basically safe red. These are ones from 2020 that were basically safe red, as well as all of Nebraska, except the 2nd congressional district. Iowa and Ohio are in this column. I believe Ohio's at 17 points for Trump and Iowa's at about 15 points for Trump. These two states, the past few elections, have been voting for the former president by around, 8 to 9 points or so. But we have seen them trend to the right ever since 2008. And with Donald Trump more than likely winning the popular vote, and I actually have him winning by 4.5 points in my model, this is basically what's going to end up occurring here. Donald Trump is going to have a very large advantage in the Electoral College, especially in places like Iowa and Ohio, where he's going to gain support with white working class voters over Kamala Harris. And so that puts these states in the safe Republican column. If we go to Maine as well, we'll actually see that the 2nd congressional district is barely in the safe column, as well as Alaska being just above a 15-point win, which gives Donald Trump 149 safe Electoral College votes. Now, Kamala Harris, her first state's going to be the state of California. This is an 18-point victory in the forecast. She's ahead in the favorability metrics by quite a bit, but the fact the state's been trending to the right is definitely causing some concerns amongst Democrats of at least, basically maintaining the state as a D+20 state. It will probably not even be over a 20-point win for Harris. I expect a lot of third-party turnout to really influence the results there. We also have Maryland at 26 points for Biden, Massachusetts at 29 points. We also have Vermont at around 27 points, and then we have DC at around 77. So that's going to put these states in the safe column, which gives Harris only 81 safe Electoral College votes, clearly underperforming incumbent President Joe Biden from his last election bid. Looking at the likely states, we have the first ones, Texas and Florida. These are going to be very easy victories for the former president. He's expected to win Florida basically right below the safe margin. You could basically even put this in the safe category because it's about right there. But just to stick to technical terms, and be a little bit more precise, it technically would still be in the likely column. Texas would be a 13.3 percentage point victory. So, low, double digit victories between the 10 to 15 point range, essentially. For the state of Texas, we have seen a shift in the southern border with Tejano voters kind of shifting to the right, and that's kind of helping Republicans maintain the state over the short term. I think over the long term, the state may get a little bit more competitive, which will be worrisome for Republicans, but we'll see how that shakes out in the near future. Florida, on the meanwhile, is going to be trending super far to the right. I expect Donald Trump to more than likely even win it by a safe margin. I mean, Democrats basically won the state by they were ahead in voter registration by 88,000 votes. Now Republicans are ahead by almost a million. I believe they're like 4,000 votes away from being ahead by like a million votes in net registration. So there really is no point in either campaign really coming down to Florida to campaign that much, considering how red the state will probably be this cycle. North Carolina is going to be an easy win. Right now I currently have Donald Trump winning the state by around 9 points. That's a pretty solid victory for a state like North Carolina, a state that voted for Trump by a point. And with the 8-point shift nationwide, that basically aligns with the way the state's been trending for quite a while. Georgia is only going to be about a 5.5 point victory or so. We see here that the margin is around 5.3%. The state's kind of been trending to the left. And with, a state like Arizona being a 7-point victory in the forecast, this state is closer to the southern border. The favorability difference is huge. Donald Trump is ahead of Harris in Arizona, way more than he was against Biden. And Biden actually was doing worse in Georgia in the spread than Trump is doing against Harris. So it's such a stark difference that Harris does have a unique point of strength in Atlanta, and Trump against Harris, I guess, is having an advantage with the border issue. It's just a stark contrast between the two candidates that Georgia is now going to go from voting to the right of Arizona by 2 to probably the reverse of Arizona voting to the right of Georgia by 2 points. And that's what the model is currently showing right now. If we go to the state of Nevada, you will see a 10-point victory, essentially 9.8%, basically on the horizon. And that puts Donald Trump at 268 electoral college votes right at the gate. He's basically on his way to winning the presidency. And with Wisconsin being 7.7%, this margin was around 0.6% last time, so like an 8-point shift. So it doesn't really trend anywhere per se. Michigan ends up being roughly like a 6-point win, so it does kind of trend to the left by, I guess, 1.5 points or so. And then Pennsylvania actually shifts to the right by like about a point or so, or at least a few points. It's an 8.4 percentage point win, and it would make sense because Donald Trump is gaining with African American voters. His spread in Pennsylvania against Harris is the best out of all the Rust Belt states, and Donald Trump performing better with black voters, is going to help him out a lot in the Philly city proper area. That's going to definitely help him out in Philadelphia, and that's why he's doing so well in that department. In terms of the likely Democrat states, we have Washington and Oregon, with Washington being 11 points for Harris and Oregon being around 9 points for Harris. We also see the state of Colorado is a very easy victory for Harris. She's actually ahead there by 9.5. So that state really is not in contention as most people thought it would have been. There was polling that showed it kind of close, but I think at this point, this is a lost cause for Republicans. I don't really think they should target Colorado or Illinois. It's a 7-point victory in this forecast. Trump would have to win the popular vote by like 11 to even come close to winning it, and I don't really think that's going to happen as of right now. In the state of Connecticut, it's around an 11-point victory. Delaware, I believe I saw about 9. It rounds out to about 9. And in Rhode Island, we see a 12-point victory. And in New Jersey, it's actually around 6. So Trump's actually kind of gained in the margins in some of these places since the last forecast. And Hawaii's actually not even in the safe column anymore. It's now a likely Democrat state. If we actually go to it, is a 13-point victory for Harris. Presumably the state moving to the right by quite a bit is definitely helping out Harris, or helping out Trump in the state by quite a bit, and it's been trending 10 to 15 points to the right every cycle. So it possibly could be competitive in 2030s if Republicans continue to make gains with Asian voters, that they possibly could do this cycle. New York in this forecast is actually, if we go to it, only a 9.6 percentage point win. So that is definitely fascinating too. Only voting to the left of the nation by about 14 points if we look at Maine's 1st congressional district, we actually see that that's voting for Harris by about 12 points. And so we kind of come down to these swing states that I've been telling you guys the whole time were the swing states of the election effectively. New Mexico, Minnesota, Virginia, New Hampshire, Maine at large, and Nebraska second. Nebraska second is about a point for Donald Trump right now. It is currently a 1.5 percentage point win. That would be around a 7-point shift, so it would trend a point to the left. I mean, it voted for Joe Biden by 6.6%. And the nationwide popular vote shifting by 8.1%. Trump winning it by 1.1 is basically a slight trend to the left as of right now. So that's definitely standing where that is. If we look at a state like, New Hampshire, for example, not necessarily New Hampshire, but like Virginia is an easy win right now for Harris, 3.4%. I mean, it's, not as big as it was in 2020, and it does trend to the left, but it's still somewhat competitive for the most part. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about it too much. But now we're basically getting into the tilt Republican and Democrat states. With the tilt Republican state, we basically have New Mexico in that column. And I also forgot to fill out Maine as lean. It is currently a 2.8 percentage point win. This state's also trending to the left by quite a bit as well. And ranked choice voting isn't going to really help Donald Trump there either. New Mexico barely goes to Donald Trump in this forecast, and so does the state of Minnesota. So he gains those back from the last forecast, as you can see right here. About 0.6% in Minnesota and 0.8% margin in New Mexico. And New Hampshire is really, really close, but it does go tilt Democrat. In this forecast, it is a 0.6 percentage point margin for Kamala Harris. So Donald Trump, as of right now, according to my latest forecast, would get 328 electoral college votes to Harris's 210 electoral college votes. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this. And I will see you guys in the next video.